Karen swings her hand fast, slapping Judge Grayson's face hard. The courtroom goes quiet, everyone gasps. She grins, not knowing he's the chief judge. His eyes burn with anger. She's in big trouble now. Her power is gone. One slap and she's about to lose everything. Justice is coming. Karen burst into the courtroom, her heels clicking like a war drum. She yanked poor Mr. Dobbs by his sleeve, his head down, trembling. "This man painted his mailbox yellow," she barked, slamming a thick binder of HOA rules on the table. Her eyes blazed with fury. She was the queen of her neighborhood and no one dared defy her. The $50 fine wasn't just money, it was her pride. Behind the bench sat Judge Grayson, quiet and still. His gray hair and plain robe made him look small, ordinary. Karen didn't care. She thought he was some nobody, a tired old man with a gavel. As he started to speak, his voice soft but firm, she cut him off. "Listen here, buddy," she snapped, jabbing a finger at him. "I've got rights. You don't tell me how my street looks." The gallery, neighbors, busybodies and a few kids, stifled laughs. Mr. Dobbs shrank lower, clutching his coat, his face red with shame. He'd only wanted a cheerful mailbox, something to brighten his lonely days. Now he was trapped in Karen's storm. Grayson's eyes narrowed, but he stayed calm, like a lion watching prey. Karen didn't see it. She strutted closer, chest puffed out, ready to win. The room held its breath. She had no idea who she was yelling at, or what was coming. One spark and this courtroom would catch fire. Karen's voice echoed through the courtroom like a siren, sharp and unstoppable. "This isn't just about a mailbox," she shouted, flipping open her binder with a loud smack. Pages of rules spilled out, her kingdom's laws, written in her own angry handwriting. "It's about respect. Property values. People like him ruin everything." She glared at Mr. Dobbs, who sat hunched, staring at his shoes. His hands shook. He hadn't slept since her fine landed on his doorstep. Judge Grayson leaned forward, his face hard as stone. "Present your case properly," he said, his voice low but cutting. Karen laughed, a short, bitter sound. "Properly? I'm the one keeping this town from falling apart." She tossed her head, her earrings jangling, and paced like a caged animal. The gallery whispered, some nodding, others rolling their eyes. Sunny, the stenographer, tapped away at her keys, her lips twitching with a secret smile. She saw a train wreck coming and couldn't look away. Grayson raised a hand. "Sit down, ma'am. Now." His tone was ice. Karen froze, then exploded. "Sit? You don't order me around. I've fought bigger battles than you, lawn weeds, stray dogs, kids on skateboards." She stomped toward the bench, her face red, veins bulging. Mr. Dobbs whimpered, a tiny sound lost in her rage. He'd painted that mailbox for his late wife. She'd loved yellow. Now it was a war zone. Grayson's patience snapped thin, his fingers tightening on the gavel. The air grew heavy, electric. Karen didn't see the danger. She was a match, and this room was dry wood, ready to burn. Karen's breath came fast, her chest heaving as she stood inches from Judge Grayson's bench. "You think you're tough?" she hissed, her voice a venomous snarl. "I've dealt with worse than you, delivery men, nosy reporters, that idiot with the leaf blower." Her hands clenched into fists, nails digging into her palms. The gallery sat wide-eyed, caught between fear and thrill. Mr. Dobbs hid his face, tears welling up. He couldn't watch this monster he'd unleashed. Grayson stared her down, unflinching. "You're in contempt," he said, slow and steady like a warning bell. "Step back." His eyes were steel, but Karen was blind to it. She saw a weak old man, not the storm brewing behind him. "Contempt?" she screeched, throwing her arms up. "I'll show you contempt." In a flash, her hand flew, crack, slapping his cheek with a sound that bounced off the walls. The room gasped as one, a collective choke of shock. Sunny's fingers froze mid-type, her jaw dropping. The bailiff lunged too late. Grayson didn't move, didn't blink. A red mark bloomed on his face, but his lips curved, just a flicker of a smile. Karen smirked, triumphant, chest puffed out. "That's what you get," she crowed, turning to the crowd for approval. Silence answered her. Faces stared, pale and stunned. Mr. Dobbs sobbed quietly, his dreams of peace shattered. Grayson touched his cheek, then spoke, voice deadly soft. "You just made a mistake, ma'am. A big one." Karen's grin faltered, confusion creeping in. The air turned thick, suffocating. She'd lit the fuse, and the explosion was coming. Karen stood frozen, her hands still tingling from the slap as the courtroom held its breath. The bailiff, a towering man with a booming voice, stepped forward, shattering the silence. "Order," he roared, his words shaking the walls. You just hit Chief Judge Leonard Grayson, head of this district. His finger pointed at Grayson like a spotlight, and the room erupted, gasps, whispers, a child's cry. Karen's smug face crumbled, her eyes darting. Chief Judge? She croaked, voice breaking. Grayson rose slowly, his robe falling like a shadow. The red mark on his cheek glowed, but his gaze was ice-cold fire. I've seen bank robbers with more sense, he said, each word a hammer. You're not just in trouble, you're done. Karen stumbled back, her knees wobbling. She clutched her binder, her shield, but it slipped, pages scattering like fallen leaves. The gallery buzzed, some cheering, others shaking their heads. Mr. Dobbs peeked up, tears streaking his face, hope flickering in his chest. He'd never meant for this, just a quiet life, a splash of yellow. Now justice loomed. Sunny's eyes sparkled, her fingers flying again, capturing every heartbeat for her listeners. The bailiff grabbed Karen's arm, cuffs gleaming. No, she wailed, thrashing like a trapped animal. I'm important. You can't. Grayson leaned over the bench, voice low, slicing through her cries. You ruled your little street like a tyrant. Now you'll learn what real power is. Karen's screams faded as she was dragged away, the door slamming shut. The room exhaled, stunned, alive. She'd slapped a giant, and the giant struck back. The courtroom settled into an uneasy hush as Karen's cries echoed down the hall. Sunny Patel, perched at her stenographer's desk, let out a slow breath. Her dark eyes gleamed with mischief, she'd caught it all. Every shout, every gasp, the slap that shook the town. Her recorder, hidden under a stack of papers, hummed with the day's chaos. This wasn't just a job, it was her ticket to something bigger. She glanced at Mr. Dobbs, slumped in his seat, wiping his eyes. His quiet pain tugged at her heart. He was the real victim, crushed under Karen's reign. Then she looked at Grayson, still towering behind the bench, his face a mix of fury and calm. A legend unmasked. Sunny's lips curled. Her podcast, Courtroom Confessions, was about to blow up. As the bailiff cleared the room, Sunny slipped out, her sneakers silent on the floor. In the empty hallway she hit upload. Episode 47. The day HOA Karen slapped Karma. Her voice, smooth and sly, narrated the tale. Karen's meltdown, Grayson's revenge, Dobbs's broken dreams. She ended with a tease. Next week she's back for trial. Don't miss it. By morning her phone buzzed, thousands of downloads, comments flooding in. Hero Judge. Poor Dobbs. Karen's toast. Back in the cell, Karen paced, her hair wild, muttering about lawsuits. She didn't know the world was already laughing. Sunny grinned at her screen, picturing Mr. Dobbs hearing it too. Maybe he'd smile again. She'd turned a disaster into a story, a spark into a blaze. And she wasn't done yet. In the dim cell, Karen sat on a hard bench, her makeup smeared, her pride in tatters. The walls seemed to close in, cold and gray. Outside, laughter drifted from the jail's common room. 2 inmates mimicking her slap, their voices cruel. Pow. Karen thought she owned that judge. Her jaw tightened, fury bubbling like a storm. They'll see, she whispered, eyes narrowing. I'm not finished. She clutched her one phone call slip, plotting her comeback. Lawyers, news stations, anyone who'd listen. This wasn't her end, it was war. Across town, Judge Grayson sat alone in his chambers, the lamplight casting shadows on his face. The slap still stung, but not as much as the memory of Karen's HOA reign. He pulled a dusty file from his desk, complaints piled high, fines for flowers, threats over fences, neighbors driven to despair. Grayson's sister had lived there once, bullied until she moved. He'd never forgotten. His fingers traced the pages, a quiet vow forming. Karen wasn't just a loudmouth, she was a menace, and he'd end her games for good. Mr. Dobbs walked home under a street lamp, his yellow mailbox glowing faintly. He touched it, thinking of his wife's smile. For the first time in weeks he felt light, like justice might find him. But Karen's last glare haunted him. She never gave up. Sunny's podcast blared through earbuds everywhere, her voice promising more. The town buzzed, divided, some cheered Grayson, others rallied for Karen. The stage was set, the fuse lit. Next week's trial would be no hearing, it'd be a reckoning.